Hi guys, today I'm making this little Santa jumper for my 2-year-old. It's very easy. It is, well, obviously it's going to take a little while, but it's very easy because I'm only using triple crochets and double crochets, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started then. Okay, so for this project I'm using Drops Big Merino. It's a really nice soft wool. This is a 50-gram wool. And I'm using 5 of these, 5 of the red one black and one off-white. You can use white if you like, but I just like this color. The reason I'm using this one is 100% wool, but it's really soft, so I'm using it for most of my projects now. And then I'm going to have 5.5mm crochet hook, and then you have 4 buttons, 4 mushroom buttons for the belt. Then I'm going to attach them with a darning needle, and then I have something to cut as well. Now, with the red one, if you're going to use a bigger hook, or if your stitches are not very tight, I would recommend that you have 6, just in case. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we'll start, as usual, by doing a slip knot. Let me just grab my yarn. So to do a slip knot, everybody does it in different ways. So however you've learned is great, but this is how I do it. So I have my yarn wrapped around my thumb and then my pointer finger, and then put it on top of the yarn there and under here. If I can do it a bit, there we go. And then on, under, and then twist, hook, and grab. Let's do it again. Twist, hook, grab, and pull. And then we tighten it. And now we're going to do 58 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we're going to do 58 altogether. So I'll see you here when I've got to 58. Okay, we have our 58 chains. So now we're going to do a row of triple crochets, 1 in each stitch. So we're not going to start from the very first stitch because we want it to stand up nicely. So we're going to start in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start in this one. 1, 2, hang on, let me have a look. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start in this chain here. So we wrap the yarn around and then go into the chain, yarn over, pull through. We have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our first treble crochet. And again, yarn over in the next stitch, put your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that's our second, and again yarn over in the 3rd stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our 3rd stitch. So I'm going to do that until I get to the end of my row, just 1 triple crochet in each stitch. So you can pause the video now, and I'll see you here in a second when I'm at the end of my row. Okay, so I'm now at the end of my first row, and I've made 55 stitches, but we are going to count this first chain that we did, chain 3 at the beginning. That's going to count as one of our stitches. So altogether we should have 56. So now for the round 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And now we're going to do 1 triple in the very first stitch. So exactly where we have this chain, we're going to do another triple crochet. So we have 2 in 1. We're going to do 1 in the next stitch. So we have 2, 1, and that's going to be our pattern. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So in the next stitch we need to do 2 treble crochets. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 1 treble crochet in the following stitch. And then 2 in next. 1 and the second one in the same stitch. And 1 in the next. So we're doing 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So have a look. We have 2 in the first one, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And do carry on like this until the end of the row. I will meet you here just before I finished the row and show you how I do the last stitch in our turning chain. Okay, so we've almost finished the row. We just need to do our 1 last treble crochet into the turning chain here. So we're going to yarn over and then just put the hook right here into the last stitch, which is our turning chain. There we go. And now we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work around and do exactly the same thing as we did in round 2. Just to mention, in round 2 you should have 84 stitches, including the chain. So 84 stitches. So now we're going to do 1 treble into the very first stitch, just where the chain is. So 1 treble in here. So we have 2 in 1, and then we're going to do 1 in the next stitch, and then 2 in the following stitch. So 2 treble crochets into the following stitch. And again 1 into the next stitch, and 2 into the following stitch. 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 1 into the following stitch, and 2 into the next stitch. So again, the same pattern. If you look at the beginning of your work, so you have 2 here, including the chain. So you have 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, till the end of the row. And as you can see, we are nicely turning around now. So I'll meet you here once I'm at the end of this row. Okay, so we're at the end of our row 3. So now I'm going to just do 1 treble into the very last stitch, which is our chain 3. There you go, and that's 126 stitches, including the chain 3 at the beginning here. So now we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And now we're going to do 1 treble in each stitch for row 4. So we're not going to go into this very first stitch, we're going to go into next stitch along, because we don't want to do 2 stitches in one. So we're going to go into the next stitch along and do 1 treble in there. And then we're going to do in the next one and do 1 treble in there as well. So all the way across, we're going to just do 1 treble crochet in each stitch. So at the end of this row, you should have 126 stitches still. So I'll see you here when I get to the end of my row. So we're now at the end of row 4, and I'm just going to do the 1 last triple crochet into the turning chain, and that should give us again 126 stitches across, and then we're going to do 3 chains, 1, 2, 3 as usual, and we're going to turn the work around. And for the next 3 rows, row 5, 6 and 7, we're going to do exactly the same thing as in row 4. So 1 treble in each stitch. We're going to skip the very first one. We're not going to go in there. We're going to go into the next stitch along and do 1 triple crochet in there, and then go into the next stitch and 1 triple crochet in there. Oopsie, let's do it again. And into the next stitch and 1 triple crochet in there. It's not going very well, but anyway, 1 triple crochet in each stitch across, and then remember to do your last treble in the turning chain, and you should have 126 stitches all the way across for the next 3 rows. So I'm going to come back when I'm at the end of row 7. So I haven't finished row 7 yet. However, I'm just running out of yarn, so I want to show you what I'm going to do to get the yarn. I just need to find the end. There we go. So I'm going to change the yarn. Because we're not changing colour, it doesn't really matter very much, and it's going to be quite easy. But let's have a little look. So I've got my end yarn here. So I'm going to start my triple crochet as usual. So go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, do the first 2 stitches, and then grab the second yarn, hold both of them at the back, and just pull the new yarn through the last 2 stitches. Then tighten it a bit, and I'm going to work these end bits in as I go along so I don't have to weave them in later. So I've got 2 pieces of yarn here. I'm going to hold them on top like so, yarn over, go into the next stitch and just weave them in. And then do the next triple crochet here. And then keep the yarn there. Again, another triple crochet in the next stitch, holding the yarn on top. And then again, yarn over and do the next stitch. And we're going to have this end. So when you have a look here, I might have tightened it a bit too much at the beginning, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to even it out like so, and then there you have it. So now I'm going to carry on with my row 7, and I'll see you here once I've finished. Okay, so we're at the end of row 7. So now we're going to start on our armholes. So I'm going to chain 3 as usual, and then turn the work around. So again, this counts as one of our stitches. So right now we're going to do 19 triple crochets, 1 in each stitch. So we're not going to start in the first one, we're going to start in the next one, as we have done in the last 4 rounds. So 19 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to carry on like this, and I'll meet you here in a second when I'm done with the 19 stitches. Okay, I've done my 19 stitches. Now I'm going to skip 23. So skip 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I've skipped 23 and I'm going to put my triple crochet in the 24th stitch. So I'm going to do 1 triple crochet in the 24th stitch. One triple crochet, and then I'm going to do 40 triple crochets, 1 in each stitch. So 40 altogether, including the first one that we've just done. So 1, 2, and then 38 more stitches, 1 in each stitch, and I'll see you here when I'm done with that. Okay, I've done my 40, so now I'm going to skip 23 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and do my next triple crochet in the 24th stitch. 24th stitch along. Okay, so that's my first stitch of the last bit of this row, and I should have 20 altogether around here. So if I counted everything correctly, there will be 20 at the end, and I'll see you here once I've finished this row. So we're at the end of the round now, or row, and as you can see, we now have our armhole, so it's beginning to look a little bit like a cardie. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and again chain 3 as we always do. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn my work around and just go and do 1 triple crochet in each stitch, and I'm not going to begin in the first stitch, I'm going to start in the next stitch as I have been recently. And what we need to remember is that now we've done the armholes, we're not going to count those stitches, so we're going to go across and just go across here to the back, doing 1 triple crochet in each stitch, including this connecting stitch here. So 1 triple crochet in each stitch, and again I'm going to see you here when I get to the end of my row. We're at the end of this row now, and I just need to do 1 last triple crochet in the connecting stitch. So we have our chain, the chain 3, we're going to do 1 triple in here, and that's the end of this row. And at the end of this row we should have 80 stitches altogether. 80 stitches altogether. So this is what our cardigan looks like so far. And from now on, for the next few rows, and actually have a look down here, this is how many rows I'm going to do. We're just going to do 1 triple crochet in each stitch, exactly in exactly the same way like we have been. So chain 3, then skip the very first stitch, go around, remember to do a triple crochet in your turning chain, and I'll see you here once I've done all these rows. Okay, so now I finished row 22. So as you can see, it's beginning to look like a cardigan. We are going to do a little bit of increasing here. So we'll start row 23 the way we always start, which is with 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to turn our work around and go not into the first but into the second stitch from the hook. And then we're going to go and do another single triple crochet in the next stitch. Oops. So we have 3 here. And now we're going to do one increase, which means 2 treble crochets in one stitch. So in the next stitch we're going to put 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2, and then we do 1 treble in the next stitch, and then 1 increase in the next stitch, and then 1 treble in the next stitch, and 2, which is an increase in the following stitch. So this is going to be the pattern. So that's what we're going to do: 1 2 1 2 1 2 until we have 3 stitches left at the end, including the turning chain. So I'll meet you here just before I finish the row, having just 3 stitches left to do. Okay, so I'm at the end of this row. As you can see, I had to change the yarn again because I've run out. So I have 4 more stitches to do, including my little chain there. So I've just done 2, and now I'm going to do 1 treble in one stitch, and then I have 3 left. So 1 2 plus the chain, and now I'm just going to do 1 treble in each of these stitches, 1 treble in the last 3, like we did at the beginning. 1 1 and 1 last one in the chain. There we go. So that's the end of the row, and now I'm going to chain 3 as usual, turn my work around, and now I'm going to do 1 treble in each stitch. So 1 treble in each stitch. So again, we're not going to start in the very first one, we're going to start in the second one, and then just do 1 treble all the way to the end. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to see you here when I get to the end. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row now. I've got 2 stitches left, so I'm going to do 1 treble in this stitch here, and then I'm going to change color in the very last stitch. So in the chain 3, I'm going to go in as usual, starting my triple crochet, and I'm going to yarn over, pull through first 2 loops, and then I'm going to grab the second one, and I'm going to pull the second yarn through at this point. And then I'm going to secure them, just tie them together like so. And now I'm going to chain 3 as usual, turn the work around, and then do 1 triple crochet in each stitch, starting not in the first one but in the second stitch. So 1 in each stitch. Okay, and what I'm going to do is do that until the end of the row, and then I'm going to do another row of the white, so 2 all together, and again it's just going to be 1 triple crochet in each stitch. So carry on like this for 2 rows, and I'll see you here when you've finished. In the meantime, you can now cut off the red one because we won't need it. We'll have to weave them in later on. Okay, so now I'm at the end of the second row. I will just fasten off and leave the end for now. I will weave them all in at the very end. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the sleeves. Okay, so now we've finished the bottom and the whole body of the cardigan. We can move on to making a sleeve. So I've already made one just so that you can see what we're aiming at. So this is one of the sleeves that I've already made, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the sleeve on the other side. Now before I start, let me just tell you that if you have your cardigan facing this way and we start this sleeve from the back to go up, then obviously with this sleeve here, when you do it off camera, you will be starting from the front and you're going up and up. So it's exactly the same thing, exactly the same pattern, but here you start from the back and on the other sleeve you start from the front. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to fold the cardigan so that we can have the back of the sleeve in front of us. And then we're going to connect the yarn. So if you remember, these are the stitches that we skipped when we were connecting, making armholes. So just to show you, this here is our connecting stitch. So what I want is not go in there, leave this side of the stitch as well, and then this stitch. So 1, 2, 3, you can see 3 holes there. 1, 2, 3, we're not going in any of those. We're going into next hole along. So if you look at your stitches, this is the first stitch that actually looks straight in line with all the others. This one here. So this is where we're going to put our yarn. Okay, and now I'm going to chain 3 as we always do. Weave in my end so that it doesn't fall apart. So I'm going to start with a triple crochet in the same stitch. 1 triple crochet in the same stitch as the chain. And then I'm going to do 9 more triple crochets, 1 in each stitch. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, let's do 6 again, 6, something's not working there, and one more time. I think there's a little knot there, and this is what's happened. It's okay, 6, we'll just ignore that. 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's our 10 triple crochets. And now we're going to do 1 increase, which means 2 triples in 1 stitch. So 1 triple in this stitch, and then the next triple in the same stitch. So that's 1 increase. Then we're going to do 1 triple crochet in the next stitch, and another increase in the next stitch. So 2 triples in the next stitch. Okay, and now we're going to go back down the sleeve, just here. We're going to do 10 triples, 1 in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to just close up this little gap here, this one here, So we are going to do some, I'm not really sure what they're called. So let me just show you what I'm doing. So we're going to incomplete triples in multiple stitches. It sounds more complicated than it is. So let's start. So let's have a look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to do 1 treble in 1 stitch, and we're not going to finish it. We're going to stop just before the last step. We've got one more step to do, but we're going to stop, and instead we're going to go into the next stitch. So it's difficult to go into the stitch because this is a row this way. So just go into the side of the stitch. Go into the side of the stitch. And then again, do the first step. And when you have 3 loops, just stop for a second. And then we're going to do 1 more in the next stitch. So in the connecting stitch, we're going to go in, yarn over, pull through, and then we end up with 4 stitches, 4 loops on the hook, and then we're going to pull the yarn through all 4 at the same time. Okay, and now we have 2 more. So what we're going to do, we're going to do the same thing, but with just 2. So go into the side of this stitch, first of all, and don't complete your treble. Stop before the last step, and then again, as if you were starting another treble in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and then when you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's the rest of our stitches. And now we're just going to go and slip stitch into the top of this first stitch. So this is our first row, well, first round really, of the sleeve. Now what you need to do is count how many stitches you have. We should have 26 stitches altogether. "22, 24, 26. Great. So we have 26 stitches, and that's exactly what we should have. So now we are just going to carry on with 1 triple crochet in each stitch. So as usual, we'll chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then we are going to carry on. So go into the very first stitch. This time we're going to go into the very first stitch, and then we're going to carry on all the way around. 1 triple crochet in each stitch, and I'll meet you here at the end of this round. Okay, we're at the end of the row, and now we're just going to slip stitch into the top of the very first stitch. So not the chain, but the top of the very first stitch. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing again. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go around doing 1 triple crochet in each stitch. And that's what we're going to do for quite a few rounds, and this is how many rounds we're going to do. So just have a look here, and I'll see you here once I've finished all these rounds. Okay, so now we're almost done with the sleeve. Now we're going to do a little decrease. So let's start with chaining 3 as usual. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to do 2 triples, starting in the very first stitch like we have been doing. So 1 triple in the first stitch and 1 triple in the second stitch, and then we're going to do 1 decrease. So the way we do a decrease is we start like we normally do with the treble. So yarn over, put the hook in, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and before the last step, we're not going to finish the last step, we're going to yarn over again and go into the second stitch, so the next stitch along, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then when we end up with 3 chains on the hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that's our decrease. Then we're going to do 1 triple crochet in each stitch for 3 stitches. So 1 triple in the first stitch, 1 triple in the second stitch, and 1 triple in the third stitch, and then we're going to do another decrease. So don't finish the treble. When you're just about to do the last step, stop, yarn over again and go to the next stitch along, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, oh, 2 not 3, and then when you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all of them. And then we're going to do 3 trebles, 1 in each stitch again. So 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to do another decrease. And then 3 trebles, 1 in each stitch, and 3, and then another decrease. And then 3 trebles, 1 in each stitch, 1, 2, and 3, and 1 decrease. And we should be left with 2 stitches at the end. So we're going to do 2 stitches, 2 trebles, 1 in each stitch, but we're not going to finish the last one because we are going to change the color now. Actually, sorry, we are going to finish the last one because we're going to change the color on the slip stitch. So we put in the hook for the slip stitch in here, and then we take the white yarn, or off-white, whichever you're using. Mine is slightly off-white, and then we're going to pull it through both stitches, like so, and then we're going to tighten it, and we're going to do 3 chains, and then we're going to do 1 triple in each stitch, but remember we're going to keep these pieces of yarn here so that we work over them, so we don't have to weave them in later on. So just 1 in each stitch, 1 triple in each stitch, making sure that we work over the yarn so we don't have to weave it in later. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to cut my red yarn where the white ends, and then I'm just going to work my way around until the end of the round. And I'll see you here in a second. So we're at the end of this round. We're going to slip stitch, and then we're going to do 1 more round. 1, 2, 3. 1 more round of 1 triple crochet in each stitch. So this is going to be our last round for the sleeve. So we are getting there. You should have 21 stitches right now, but don't worry if you don't. I mean, as long as you have the same number of stitches on both sleeves, it's completely fine. I am not the best at keeping count, and I am trying, just for the purpose of the videos, to make sure that everything's even. But I'm still learning, so let's hope it all worked out for you. So I'll see you here in a second. Okay then, so this is the end. We're going to slip stitch as usual, and then one more chain, and then we fasten off and tighten. There we go. So these are our sleeves done now. We are getting there. And so let's move on to finishing off. Okay, so now we're nearly done. What we're going to do now is tidy the edges a bit. So we're going to start at the bottom. Doesn't matter where exactly you start. I just don't want to start on the corners. You'll see why later on. But so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to go somewhere in the middle and pull the yarn through. Pull the yarn through one of the stitches and chain one. So I'm going to work double crochets around them, not triple but double. Remember to work your yarn in so that you don't have to weave it in later on. So work over your yarn. So just one double crochet in each stitch. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do all the way around, but when we get to the sides here, we're going to work into the side of the stitches rather than the stitches themselves. So I'll just come back when I've got to the end of the bottom, and then we can do the corner and the side stitches together. Okay, so I'm almost at the corner now, so I'm just going to proceed to doing one double in each stitch, and then at the very corner, just here in the last stitch, I'm going to do 4 double crochets in one stitch. 1, 2, 3, all in one stitch. 3 and 4, and that's going to give us a nice straight edge, hopefully. And now, as you can see, we're going to work into the sides of the stitches rather than stitches themselves. So might be quite tricky to get into, but just try to get into one of the triples in there. So I'm going to do one here and then one here, if I can. This might be a bit time consuming, but it does make it look better. Okay, and then one in the next stitch along on the side of the stitch, and then one in the next one, and then one in the next one. I wouldn't worry about counting here because this is quite tricky, so I would just try and go in as evenly as possible. There we go. And then have a quick look. So this is what we're aiming for. So this, as I said, is going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to do this up to the very top of this side, and then I'll come back right here when I get to the top. Okay, so we're right at the top of the side and we're going to work into the original 56 stitches on the top. So now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do a decrease. So triple crochet, decrease. So go into the next stitch along, and before you finish the last step, do another one and go into the next stitch along. Now we do have a little bit of a end yarn here, so you can weave it in as you go along, and then that will save you some work for later. And then we're going to do our decrease like so, and we are going to do 1 treble in the next stitch. And then another decrease. And then 1 treble into the next stitch. And a decrease into the following stitch. And then another treble in the next stitch. And a decrease into the following stitch. So this is what I'm going to do all the way around on the top, and I'll see you here just before I finish the top. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of the top of my jumper. I'm going to do 1 triple crochet in here, and then I'm going to do 1 last decrease. Okay, so that's the end of my stitches. Now, in order to go down, I'm going to do a slip stitch in the white. So I'm going to go into the bottom, just here in the bottom of my last stitch, and do a slip stitch in here. And then I'm going to go and do 1 double crochet in the same stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch along, and 1 double crochet in the next stitch along, and 1 double crochet all the way down. So this is what we're going to do now. 1 double crochet all the way down the side and all the way around until we get to wherever we started. So I started my double crochets here, so that's where I'm going to be going. So I'll see you here once I finished all of the sides. So I'm almost done here. I just need to do 1 more double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the very first stitch, if I can get into it, like so, and then just fast enough. And you have it. Just gonna get the camera, a better angle of the camera so that you can see the entire thing. Okay, so this is our Santa jumper. Now what we can do is tidy off the ends, so just weave in the ends, and the last thing to do now is the little belt that we're going to use a black yarn for. Okay, so we're going to use the black yarn for the belt, and to start off we're going to slip knot and chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now we're going to skip one stitch and go into the second stitch from the hook and do a double crochet. So you don't have to yarn over with a double crochet, and this is British English, so in American English that's a single crochet. So you just put the hook in, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through too. And then again, put the hook in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through too. Hook in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through too. So that's what we're doing all the way across the first chain. And because we skipped the first stitch, the first chain, obviously we're going to have 9 stitches instead of 10. Almost at the end. And one last stitch. Now because it's black, the yarn is black, it's really difficult to see what you're doing. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn the work around and work into the very first stitch. The very first stitch, we're not skipping anything, and do 1 double crochet in the very first stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, 1 double crochet in the next, and all the way across. So 1 double crochet. Okay, and then the last stitch is just here. And then we're going to chain 1 again and turn the work around. And we're going to start over in the very first stitch, do 1 double crochet. I'm going to redo that because my yarn got caught. The first stitch, 1 double crochet, the next stitch, 1 double crochet, and the next, and all the stitches. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do all the way across, and until I've got enough to go around the waist of my baby. I will have to do some buttonholes at the end, so when you get to a point where you can wrap it around without overlapping, then come back. Okay, so I've got about 20 inches of my strap now, So now I'm going to do some buttonholes. I'm going to use 4 buttons, but I am going to make more holes, and I'll show you why later on. So I'm going to chain 1 as usual and turn the work around, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch and 1 double crochet into the second stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1 and skip 1 stitch. So we're going to skip this one and do a double crochet into the next stitch, and that's going to give us a nice little hole there. So I've already got 1 stitch in the middle, so I need 2 more, 1 in each stitch, 1 and 2. So in total we have 3 stitches in the middle, and then I'm going to chain 1 again, skip 1 stitch and go into the second stitch, and then 1 double as well in the last stitch. So that's our first 2 holes. So here we have our buttonholes. So now I'm going to chain 1 and turn the work around, and then I'm going to go 1 stitch in each all the way across. But when we get to the hole, we're going to go into the hole rather than into the stitch above. So I'm going to go straight into the hole and do 1 double crochet in there, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the 3 stitches in the middle, and then 1 double crochet in the next buttonhole. So straight into the hole, not into the stitch above, but into the hole, like so, and then the last 2 stitches. Okay, there we are. And then chain 1 again, turn the work around, and 1 double crochet in each stitch. So 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across. And now at the end, there we go. And here are our buttonholes. And again, we're going to chain 1 as usual and do another row of just double crochet. So 1 double crochet in each stitch. Okay. So we've done 3 rows of just 1 double crochet in each stitch, and now we're going to do another row of buttonholes. So chain 1, turn the work around, 1 double crochet in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second stitch, and then chain 1 and skip 1. So skipping 1 stitch and going to the next one along. 1 double crochet here, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in the third stitch, and then we're going to chain 1 again and skip 1 stitch and go into the next one. Okay, then we're going to turn our work around as usual, chain 1 and do a row of just double crochets, 1 in each stitch. Oh, there we go. So there's 1 more stitch here. It's quite tiny for some reason. and then we're going to go into the buttonhole just here inside, and then we're going to do 3, 1 in each stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then go into the buttonhole and do 1 double in there, and then 2 last double crochets. Okay, so they're not massive, we don't want them very big. It all depends how big your buttons are, but mine will definitely go through here. So now I'm going to repeat this sequence. So I'm going to do 2 more rows of just 1 double crochet in each stitch, and then I'm going to come back. So I've got the 3 rows above my buttonholes. Now I'm going to do another sequence, so 1 chain, turn around, and we're going to do some more buttonholes here. So 1 double crochet in the first stitch, 1 in the second stitch, chain 1, skip 1, and then 1 double in the next stitch, 1 double in the next stitch, and then 1 double in the third stitch, and chain 1, skip 1, and 1 double in the last 2 stitches each. Okay, and then chain 1, and we're going to do 3 rows of just double crochet in each stitch, but remember the first one we go in the buttonhole rather than the stitch above. If you think your strap is long enough, you can just finish by you can finish now basically after doing one row of the double crochets. But if you think that you need a bit more, then do another sequence like I'm going to. So I've got 2 more rows to do, and I'm going to do another set of buttonholes, and I'm going to see you then. Right, so I've done the last set of my buttonholes. So I've got 4 all together. Now I'm going to do 1 more row and see if that's enough. So just normal row, and we're going into the buttonhole. And then 3 stitches. And go into the buttonhole again, and then the last 2 stitches. So now I'm going to quickly get the button, because I do want the buttons on the edge, but I don't want them to stick out. So I'm just going to check. That's perfect. This is great. So I'm going to fasten enough now and get the buttons onto my strap. Okay, so it's time for the buttons. So we have our first buttonhole here, and now we just need to put the button on the other side. So we're going to skip the first row, and then in the second row, 1, 2, put the button into the third stitch. Put the button inside the third stitch. Before you start sewing, double check that it's on the same level as your hole, which it is. And then we just turn it around and put the needle through, making sure that you catch some of the belt yarn as well. Okay, and then I'm going to tie a little knot before I go on to sewing. Okay, I'm going to cut this bit off now, and then I just need to make sure that the button is securely attached. So I tend to go over the top with these things because I'm a little bit paranoid. So when you feel that it's secure enough, you can stop. You don't have to do as many as I do, but I think it's actually quite good now. So I'm just going to do one more. And then I'm just going to tie it off and move on to the next one. One more knot for good measure. And there we go. Cut it off and do the next button. So the next button will be in the same row, but on the other side. So 1, 2, 3 in the third stitch, in the same row. Just again double check it's on the same level as the buttonhole, and then we do exactly the same thing. So make sure that you do catch some of the yarn straight away, and then I'm going to tie it, and then I'm going to sew it. So I'll carry on with these. Once I've finished with these two, I'm going to do 2 more over here. So you need to remember we had three rows, or they are 3 rows apart. So we need to also make sure that they are 3 rows apart. If you're not quite sure, just put the buttons in and then do it that way. So you know the hole is here, so the button has to be in this row, in this stitch over there. There we go. And then it's in the right place. So once I finish those 4, I'll come back. Okay, so the belt is ready. As you can see, the buttons are on. Now I'm going to show you why I did more buttonholes. So if this is too wide, I can tighten it by moving this across. So I can either do it like this, because I have 4 buttonholes here, or even there's one more set. So there are 3 different possibilities. Now if we want to do this, then you can also see that you can fold the end and put the buttons like so. So nothing is hanging off. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to weave in the ends and show you the finished product. So there we have it, a Santa jumper. So this one is for my 2-year-old daughter, and when we tried it, it fits just right at the moment, and she's literally 2 and a month. So I would say if you want one for a slightly older child, then perhaps you should use a hook that is bigger. So instead of 5.5, maybe a 6mm crochet hook. But I haven't tried it, so I can't really guarantee that it's going to work. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching as usual. And I hope to see you again soon, and happy Christmas!